Hello, dear friends. Imagine this. What if you killed a magical creature to save your family? What consequences would await you? What if you had to choose between love and a curse? What if you were just an ordinary human, but had to survive in a world of fairies? What would you do? And most importantly, how far would you go for the ones you love? Today, we are diving into one of the most captivating fantasy romance novels that has taken the world by storm. We're talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, a breathtaking tale that masterfully blends Beauty and the Beast vibes with dark fantasy, epic romance, and unforgettable plot twists. Sarah J. Maas is a New York Times best-selling author known for creating immersive fantasy worlds. She's the brilliant mind behind the Throne of Glass series, and with ACOTAR, she's built a universe that millions of readers worldwide have fallen in love with. This book is the first in a phenomenal series that explores themes of survival, sacrifice, love, and transformation. It's a story where nothing is as it seems, and every choice comes with a price. So, what will you learn in this audio? Here's exactly what we'll cover. Feyre's journey from a struggling human huntress to something far more powerful, the magical world of Prythian, its 7 courts, dangerous fairies, and ancient treaties, Tamlin and the Spring Court, the mysterious High Lord and his cursed land. The forbidden romance, how hatred transforms into passionate love. Amarantha's curse, the terrifying villain and her deadly game. The 3 trials, Feyre's ultimate test of courage and wit. Major plot twists, secrets that will leave you stunned. Character development, how Feyre evolves from survivor to hero. This audio is perfect for you if you love fantasy worlds with rich world building and magic. Slow burn romance that makes your heart race strong. Female protagonists who fight for what they believe in. Adventure and danger at every turn. Plot twists that keep you guessing whether you've read the book or you're discovering it for the first time. This breakdown will give you everything you need to understand and appreciate this masterpiece. Here's how we'll structure this journey. We have 6 main sections covering Feyre's life and the fateful hunt, the magical world of Prythian and Spring Court, Tamlin and the developing romance, Amarantha's curse and the true conflict, the trials and Feyre's heroism, transformation and new beginnings, plus actionable takeaways and book recommendations at the end. So grab your headphones, get comfortable, and let's enter the enchanting and dangerous world of A Court of Thorns and Roses. Let's begin. Let's meet our protagonist, Feyre Archeron. She's a 19-year-old girl living in a small village near the border of the magical lands. But don't let her young age fool you. Feyre has been forced to grow up way too fast. Feyre is the youngest of 3 sisters. Nesta the oldest, proud and cold. Elaine the middle sister, gentle and dreamy. And Feyre the fighter, the survivor, the one who does what needs to be done. She's not a princess waiting to be rescued. She's not living in a castle with servants. Feyre is a huntress. Every single day, she ventures into the dangerous woods with her bow and arrows, risking her life to bring food to her family's table. Why? Because if she doesn't hunt, her family starves. It's that simple. It's that brutal. Now, here's the heartbreaking part. Feyre's family wasn't always poor. Years ago, her father was a wealthy merchant. They lived comfortably, had servants, nice clothes, plenty of food. Life was good. But everything changed when her father made bad business decisions and lost all their money in a risky venture. He lost their ships, their fortune, everything. And then came the final blow. He was brutally attacked and lost his leg. He became disabled, unable to work, unable to provide for his daughters. So what happened to this once wealthy family? They were left with a tiny, freezing cottage. Barely any furniture, no money for proper food or firewood, and 3 young girls who suddenly had to fend for themselves. Here's what breaks my heart. Nesta and Elaine, the 2 older sisters, they do almost nothing to help. They sit by the fire, complaining about their lost wealth, reminiscing about their comfortable past, acting like maintaining their beauty and dignity is more important than survival. Meanwhile, Feyre the youngest is out there in the frozen woods, hunting dangerous animals, her fingers numb from cold, risking death every single day. At 19 years old, she became the sole provider for her entire family. Can you imagine that pressure? That responsibility? Let me paint a picture of Feyre's daily life. Every morning, she wakes up in a freezing cottage, her stomach empty, knowing that if she doesn't catch something today, her family might not eat. She grabs her father's old bow, the only valuable thing they have left, wraps herself in whatever warm clothes she can find, and heads into the forest. The Winter Court's magical wall is nearby, and everyone knows strange, dangerous creatures sometimes cross over. The forest isn't safe, but Feyre has no choice. She tracks animals through the snow. Rabbits small but better than nothing. Deer if she's lucky. This could feed them for days. Foxes, their fur can be sold for a few coins. Every hunt is a gamble with death. One wrong move, one moment of carelessness, and she could get attacked by a wild animal, freeze to death in the woods, cross paths with something far more dangerous than wolves. And here's the cruelest irony. Even when she successfully hunts, even when she brings home meat, her sisters barely thank her. Her father sits silently by the fire, lost in his own despair. Only Feyre understands. If she stops, they die. That's the weight she carries. That's her reality. And then comes the day that changes everything. Feyre's out hunting in the dead of winter. The forest is eerily quiet. Snow is falling. Her family desperately needs food. They're down to their last scraps. She's tracking a doe, a large deer that could feed her family for over a week. She follows it carefully, her bow drawn, her breath steady, and then she sees it. A massive wolf, but this is no ordinary wolf. This creature is enormous, far larger than any natural wolf should be. Its coat shimmers unnaturally. Its eyes hold an intelligence that makes her blood run cold. In that split second, Feyre realizes, this is a fairy. You see, there's an ancient treaty between humans and the fairies. The magical folk stay on their side of the wall. Humans stay on theirs. But fairies can sometimes cross over, often in animal form. And there's one absolute rule. If a human kills a fairy, even accidentally, there will be consequences. But here's Feyre's impossible choice. The wolf is going after her doe, her family's only chance at survival for the next week. If she lets the wolf take it, her family starves. She has seconds to decide. Her hands are shaking. Her mind is racing. Every instinct screams, don't do it, don't risk it. But she thinks of her sister's hollow cheeks, her father's empty stare, the gnawing hunger that never goes away. And Feyre makes her choice. She releases the arrow. The shot is perfect. The wolf falls. The massive creature dies in the snow. And as it does, she sees the shimmer of magic fade from its body. She just killed a fairy. And in that moment, standing over the dead wolf, the weight of what she's done crashes over her like an avalanche. Feyre drags both the doe and the wolf back home. She tells her family what happened, and for the first time in years, she sees fear in their eyes. Even her proud sister Nesta looks terrified. They all know the stories. Fairies don't forgive. Fairies don't forget. And the treaty demands a life for a life. For days, Feyre waits. Every shadow seems threatening. Every sound outside the cottage makes her jump. She knows someone or something is coming for her. And she's right. One night, there's a knock on the door. When she opens it, standing there in the darkness is a creature that will change her life forever. A beast. A monster. Tamlin, the High Lord of the Spring Court. And he's come to collect his debt. This is where Fairy's real journey begins, when survival becomes something far more complicated than just hunting in the woods. Let's continue to section 2 and discover the magical world she's about to enter. That night, when Feyre opens the door, she comes face to face with her worst nightmare. Standing before her is a massive beast, a creature straight out of dark fairy tales. He has the body of a powerful, muscular man, but the head of a wolf with razor-sharp fangs, claws that could tear through anything, eyes that glow with ancient magic, a presence that radiates pure, terrifying power. This is Tamlin, a High Fae, a High Lord, one of the most powerful beings in Prythian. And he speaks. His voice is deep, commanding, and it carries the weight of absolute authority. You killed one of my people. The treaty demands payment. A life for a life. Feyre's heart stops. This is it. She's going to die for protecting her family. But then Tamlin offers her a choice, and it's not the one she expected. Death. Or go with him to Prythian and live out the rest of her life in the fairy lands. Think about this impossible choice. Stay and die, leaving her family to starve without her, or leave forever, cross the wall into a world of magic and monsters, and never see her family again. Both options feel like death. But Feyre, always the survivor, always thinking of her family's survival, chooses life. She chooses to go with the beast. Her father says nothing. Her sisters cry but don't fight for her. And just like that, with barely enough time to grab a few belongings, Tamlin takes her. They cross through the wall, that invisible magical barrier that has separated humans from fairies for centuries. And Feyre Archeron enters a world she never imagined existed. As they travel, Feyre begins to understand the world she's entered. Prythian is a vast magical land, divided into 7 courts, each ruled by a High Lord with immense power. Let me break them down for you. The seasonal courts tied to nature's cycles. Spring court where Tamlin rules. Land of eternal spring, flowers, renewal, and growth. Summer court warm, vibrant, full of fire and passion. Autumn court rich with harvest, amber forests, and ancient traditions. Winter court frozen, harsh, beautiful but deadly. The solar courts tied to light and darkness. Dawn court representing new beginnings and hope. Day court filled with sunshine, knowledge, and light. Magic night court shrouded in darkness, mystery, and feared by all. Each court has its own unique magic and abilities, territories and landscapes, culture and traditions. High Lord with absolute power over their land. And here's what's crucial. These courts are not at peace. There are alliances, rivalries, ancient grudges, and power struggles that have lasted for centuries. Tamlin rules the Spring Court, and that's where Feyre is being taken. When Feyre first sees the Spring Court, she can barely breathe. After years of frozen winters, poverty, and gray skies, she steps into a world that seems impossible. Imagine this: flowers blooming everywhere, roses, jasmine, honeysuckle, filling the air with intoxicating scents, trees heavy with ripe fruit you can simply pluck and eat, crystal clear streams flowing through emerald meadows. The sun always shining, warm but never too hot, the temperature always perfect, as if spring has been frozen in its most beautiful moment. And then there's Tamlin's estate, his manor, a magnificent mansion that seems to grow from the earth itself. Walls covered in flowering vines, rooms open to gardens where roses bloom in every color, fountains that sparkle in courtyards, paintings and art that seem alive. Endless rooms filled with luxury Feyre has never experienced. There's food abundant, delicious, always available. After years of near starvation, Feyre can eat whenever she wants. There are clothes, beautiful dresses that fit her perfectly, appearing in her room like magic. There's safety, no more hunting in frozen woods, no more wondering if she'll survive the day. For someone who has spent years in poverty, fighting for every meal, this place seems like paradise. But here's the catch. She's a prisoner in paradise. She's not allowed to leave. She's not allowed to go home. This beautiful place is also her cage. Now, Feyre quickly learns that not all magical beings are the same. Here's the hierarchy. High Fae like Tamlin, the most powerful fairies. Beautiful, immortal, incredibly strong, can shapeshift, use powerful magic, rule over the courts, nearly impossible to kill. Lesser fairies, various magical creatures with different forms, some look humanoid. Others are more monstrous, have magical abilities but less powerful than High Fae, serve the High Fae or live in their courts. There are also Naga water creatures, surreal ancient beings who know all secrets, bog terrifying creatures that can steal your face, Puka shapeshifters who love chaos. And here's what shocks Feyre. They all wear masks. Every single fairy in the Spring Court, from Tamlin to the lowest servant, wears a mask covering part of their face. When she asks why, no one will tell her. It's clearly connected to something dark, something forbidden to speak about. This is her first hint that the Spring Court is hiding secrets. Feyre learns about the treaty, the ancient agreement between humans and fairies. Hundreds of years ago, there was a terrible war between humans and fairies. The fairies, with their magic and immortality, were winning. Humans were being slaughtered. But then, a powerful human came along. Some say he made a deal with dark forces and he helped humans fight back. Eventually, both sides were exhausted, and they created the treaty. A magical wall would divide their lands. Fairies stay on their side, humans on theirs. If a human kills a fairy, they pay with their life or servitude. If a fairy kills a human, well, there are supposed to be consequences, but they rarely happen. This wall has kept an uneasy peace for generations. But that peace is fragile, built on fear and old grudges that have never healed. So how does Feyre adjust to this new reality? At first, she's defensive and angry. She refuses to speak to Tamlin. She won't eat at first. Suspicious of fairy food, she tries to find ways to escape. She keeps her bow and hunting knife close. She trusts no one, but slowly, things begin to change. She meets Lucien, Tamlin's best friend and emissary. He has red hair and a brutal scar over one eye. He's sarcastic, funny, but also kind. He becomes an unexpected friend to Feyre. He helps her understand fairy customs and politics. She explores the estate and discovers a magnificent library full of books, gardens where she can paint her secret passion, freedom to roam the grounds, servants who are kind to her, and most surprisingly, Tamlin removes his beast form. One day, He appears before her as a man devastatingly handsome, with golden hair and green eyes. He's not the monster she expected. He's complicated, powerful but lonely, bound by rules she doesn't understand, carrying burdens he won't speak of, and looking at her with something that might be hope. Feyre begins to realize she's not just a prisoner here. She's part of something much bigger. There's a mystery in this court, a darkness hiding beneath all this beauty. The masks, the secrets, the way everyone seems afraid to speak certain truths. And Feyre, despite herself, begins to want to understand. She's no longer just surviving. She's starting to live in this strange new world. But she has no idea how dangerous that world truly is. In Section 3, we'll explore how Feyre and Tamlin's relationship evolves from hatred to something far more complicated and far more dangerous. Let's talk about Tamlin because he's so much more than the beast who took Feyre from her home. As Feyre spends more time in the Spring Court, she begins to see who Tamlin really is. On the surface, he appears to be the powerful High Lord of Spring Court, a warrior with incredible magical abilities, someone who commands respect and fear, a ruler with absolute authority over his lands. But underneath, Feyre discovers Tamlin is lonely, deeply, heartbreakingly lonely. He walks through his beautiful estate, surrounded by servants and subjects, but he has almost no one he can truly talk to, no one he can be himself with. He's burdened by responsibility. Every decision he makes affects thousands of lives. The weight of leadership has isolated him. He's haunted by the past. There are things he's done, things he's lost, that he carries like scars on his soul. And here's what surprises Feyre most. He's kind, not in a weak way, but in a way that shows strength. He gives Feyre freedom to roam his estate. He asks about her day, her interests, her thoughts. He brings her paints and canvas. When he discovers she loves art, he protects her from dangers she doesn't even know exist. He never forces himself on her, never demands anything physical. But there's also his mysterious side. Why does he wear that mask? Why does everyone in his court wear masks? Why does he disappear for hours, sometimes days, returning exhausted and wounded? Why won't he tell Feyre the truth about what's really happening? And why does he look at her sometimes with such desperate hope, as if she's the answer to a question he can't ask? Tamlin is a puzzle Feyre can't help but want to solve. Now, let's talk about how enemies become friends, become something more. In the beginning, Feyre hates him. He's her captor, the beast who stole her life. She barely speaks to him, responds in cold one-word answers. She plans escape routes, fantasizes about leaving. She keeps her emotional walls high and impenetrable. But then slowly, cracks appear. They start taking walks together through the gardens. Tamlin shows her magical flowers that bloom only at twilight. He teaches her about Prythian's history. They talk about art, about music, about small things that feel surprisingly normal. They share meals where conversation flows more easily. Tamlin has a dry sense of humor that makes Feyre laugh despite herself. She finds herself looking forward to dinner, to these moments of connection. The silences between them become comfortable instead of hostile. Feyre begins to see glimpses of who Tamlin really is. One night, she finds him playing a fiddle, an ancient, beautiful instrument. The music is heartbreaking, full of longing and loss. In that moment, she sees he's not a monster. He's someone who's suffering. Another time, a dangerous creature attacks the estate. Tamlin throws himself between Feyre and danger without hesitation, willing to die to protect her. She realizes he genuinely cares about her safety. And then there are the small gestures. He remembers she mentioned missing the stars, so he takes her to a hilltop to see them. He notices she's restless, so he teaches her to ride the magnificent 5 horses. He sees her paint, and instead of mocking her human art, he's genuinely impressed. The turning point comes during a festival called My Fire Night. It's a night of wild magic and ancient ritual. Tamlin must participate in ceremonies as High Lord, and it's dangerous, primal magic. Feyre sees him in his full power, terrifying and beautiful, and she realizes she's falling for him. Not because he's handsome or powerful, but because he treats her as an equal, not a prisoner. He respects her mind, her opinions, her spirit. He really sees her in a way no one ever has. He makes her feel safe and valued. And Tamlin, he's been falling for her since the moment she showed courage instead of begging for mercy. Their first kiss happens in the garden under starlight. It's tentative, gentle, full of unspoken feelings. It's a choice they both make freely. It's the moment everything changes. From enemies to friends to lovers, their relationship has transformed completely. But here's what makes this so powerful. This isn't just romance. It's two lonely souls finding home in each other. We need to talk about Lucien because he's absolutely essential to this story. Who is Lucien? Tamlin's best friend and emissary. A High Fae with fox-like cunning and wit. Bears a brutal scar over his eye and has one mechanical eye that whirs and can see through glamours. Originally from the Autumn Court, but found refuge with Tamlin. His relationship with Feyre. At first, Lucien is suspicious and sarcastic. He makes biting comments about the human. He questions whether Feyre can be trusted. He's protective of Tamlin and worried about his friend's growing feelings. But Lucien is also incredibly perceptive. He sees how Feyre is changing Tamlin for the better. He notices how she brings light back into his friend's life. He begins to respect her courage and intelligence. Over time, Lucien becomes Feyre's friend too. He teaches her about fairy politics and how to navigate court intrigue. He makes her laugh with his sharp humor and teasing. He protects her when Tamlin isn't there. He becomes the brother she never had. Key moments with Lucien. He warns Feyre about dangers she doesn't understand. He gives her advice about Tamlin. He's been through more than you know. He tells her stories about their past, helping her understand why Tamlin is so guarded. He becomes the bridge between Feyre's human world and her new fairy reality. Lucien represents something important. You can find family in unexpected places. His loyalty to both Tamlin and Feyre, his wisdom hidden beneath sarcasm, his own painful past. He's proof that the Spring Court has good people worth fighting for. Let's talk about how Feyre changes during her time in the Spring Court. Physically, she gains healthy weight from regular, abundant food. Her hands, once rough from hunting, begin to heal. She's no longer constantly exhausted from survival mode. She looks vibrant, alive, truly healthy for the first time in years. Emotionally, she learns to trust again, something poverty and family disappointment had stolen. She discovers joy, simple pleasures like painting, reading, laughing. She allows herself to be vulnerable with Tamlin, sharing her fears and dreams. She finds purpose beyond just surviving as a person. She's still fierce and brave, but now she adds wisdom. She learns diplomacy alongside her natural bluntness. She develops magical knowledge, understanding this new world. She becomes someone who belongs in Prythian, not just someone trapped there. Most importantly, her art. Remember, Feyre has always loved to paint, but poverty meant she rarely had supplies. Now, she paints constantly. She captures the Spring Court's beauty on canvas. She paints Tamlin though she's too embarrassed to show him at first. Her art becomes her voice, expressing feelings words can't capture. It's through her paintings that Tamlin truly sees her soul. Feyre is no longer just surviving. She's thriving. She's becoming the person she was always meant to be: strong, creative, loved, and loving in return. But beneath all this beauty and growing love, there's a dark mystery: the masks. Everyone in the Spring Court wears them. Always, no exceptions. Feyre keeps asking, why the masks? What are they hiding? And no one will give her a straight answer. Tamlin changes the subject. Lucien looks uncomfortable and deflects. The servants pretend they don't hear the question. It's clearly forbidden to discuss. Feyre notices patterns. Tamlin disappears and returns wounded, his mask damaged. Sometimes she hears him and Lucien having intense, whispered conversations that stop when she enters. There's a tension in the court, a fear hovering just beneath the surface. The word Amarantha is whispered with terror. And then, one night, Tamlin finally tells her fragments of truth. There's a curse. A terrible curse placed on the Spring Court. There's a powerful, evil being named Amarantha who rules from under the mountain. The masks are part of this curse, a symbol of their enslavement. And there's more, something about how the curse can only be broken under specific circumstances. Something about true love and impossible conditions. But before he can tell Feyre everything, before she can understand the full scope of the danger, everything falls apart. Hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive into A Court of Thorns and Roses, please hit that like button. It helps this content reach more book lovers like you. Subscribe for more fantasy book breakdowns and literary analysis. Drop a comment below. Are you team Tamlin, or have you read ahead and you are team someone else? Let me know. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the story because things are about to get intense. Let's continue. Now, we come to the true villain of this story, and trust me, she's absolutely terrifying. Amarantha is a High Fae of immense power, and she is pure evil wrapped in beauty. Here's her backstory. Hundreds of years ago, during the war between humans and fairies, Amarantha was a commander, a warrior of brutal efficiency. She led armies and showed no mercy. She had a lover, Jurian, a human commander who was fighting on the opposite side. Their love story was twisted and tragic, ending in betrayal and his death. When the war ended and the treaty was signed, Amarantha never forgave the fact that fairies had to compromise with humans. She saw it as humiliation, as weakness. She believed fairies should rule over humans as the superior species. The treaty, to her, was an insult that needed to be avenged. So she spent decades gathering power, making alliances, and plotting revenge. 49 years ago, she made her move. She enslaved all 7 High Lords of Prythian through magical means. She took control of their powers, their courts, their very lives. She established herself as the ruler of Prythian, operating from her stronghold under the mountain, a massive, cavernous fortress where she holds court. And here's what makes her truly terrifying. She doesn't just rule through power, she rules through cruelty and fear. She tortures those who disobey for entertainment. She forces High Lords to crawl before her like dogs. She throws lavish parties where the entertainment is watching people suffer. She collects beautiful things and destroys them when she's bored. She is sadistic, calculating, and absolutely merciless. When people speak her name, they whisper it because even saying it too loudly might draw her attention. And for 49 years, all of Prythian has lived under her shadow. Now let's talk about the curse, because it's far worse than Feyre ever imagined. Here's what actually happened. 49 years ago, Amarantha threw a massive party under the mountain, a party all the High Lords were forced to attend. That night, she cursed the Spring Court specifically, and the curse was designed to break Tamlin's spirit completely. The terms of the curse: every member of the Spring Court must wear a mask, a physical symbol of their enslavement and powerlessness. Tamlin's powers are severely limited. He can't access his full strength, can't protect his people properly. The curse would last until one specific condition was met. A mortal girl, a human, must fall truly in love with Tamlin, despite his monstrous appearance, despite not knowing who he really is, despite all the horror and fear. And she must declare that love freely, without magical coercion, without being told. She must, purely from her own heart. But here's the cruel twist. Tamlin cannot tell anyone about the curse. Not about the specific terms, not about what would break it, not about the truth of their situation. If he tells a human girl, "You need to love me to break a curse," then her love isn't genuine and the curse won't break. He has to hope that somehow, impossibly, a human girl will end up in his court, see past his beast form, fall genuinely in love with him, declare that love, and do it all before the 49 years end. The impact on the Spring Court: for 49 years, everyone has been trapped, wearing masks they can't remove, living in fear of Amarantha's attention, watching Tamlin try desperately to find a way to break the curse, knowing that if he fails, their fate will be far worse. Tamlin has brought human girls to his court before. Some were kind but felt nothing for him, some were too afraid of his beast form, some began to care but left before declaring love. None succeeded, and now, time is almost up. They have weeks, maybe days left. That's why everyone in the Spring Court looks at Feyre with such desperate hope. That's why Tamlin sometimes seems so intense, so desperate. She's their last chance. Now that Feyre knows the truth, she sees everything differently. Those times Tamlin disappeared, he was being summoned by Amarantha, forced to attend her twisted court, humiliated and hurt for her amusement. Those wounds he came back with, torture, punishment for any perceived disobedience. That sadness in his eyes, the weight of knowing that his entire court's fate rests on something he can't control, whether a human girl will love him. The reason he gave Feyre freedom, treated her kindly, never forced anything, because genuine love can't be forced. He had to let her choose him freely, or the curse would never break. Feyre realizes everything he did, bringing her here, being patient, letting her paint and explore, sharing his life with her, it wasn't manipulation. It was hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this brave human girl who killed a fairy to save her family might be the one. Might be the one with a heart strong enough to love a beast. And the devastating truth: she does love him, deeply, truly. But she's never said it out loud. She's never declared it. And now, time has run out. Let me tell you about the depth of Tamlin's love and sacrifice. When Feyre learns the truth, she wants to say it immediately. "I love you." I love you. I'll say it 1,000 times if it breaks this curse. But Tamlin stops her. Even now, at the very end, he won't let her declare love just to save him. He won't accept it if she's saying it out of obligation or pity. He tells her, go home. Go back to your family. You never asked for this burden. Think about that. He could pressure her, could guilt her, could tell her that thousands of lives depend on her words. But he doesn't. He chooses to let her go rather than trap her with guilt. That's when Feyre truly understands what love is. Not possession, not obligation, but wanting the other person's happiness even above your own. Tamlin arranges for her safe passage home. He gives her supplies, money, everything she needs. He tells her, live a good life, Feyre. Be happy. That's all I want for you. His court is devastated. Lucien can barely look at Tamlin, heartbroken for his friend. But Tamlin won't compromise Feyre's freedom, not even to save himself. This is his final act of love, letting her go. So Feyre goes home. She crosses back through the wall, returns to her family's cottage. And she should feel relieved, right? She's free. She's home. She survived. But instead, she feels empty. Her family greets her, and she realizes nothing has changed. Her sisters are still vain and selfish. Her father is still broken and silent. The cottage is still cold and hopeless. And more importantly, she's not the same person who left. She's changed, grown, become someone who belongs in a world of magic and possibility, not this gray, small existence. She paints obsessively, trying to capture the spring court's beauty from memory. And she realizes that's where her heart is. That's where her home is. Not this cottage. Not with people who never truly saw her, but with Tamlin, with Lucien, with the court that became her family. And then she hears the rumors, whispers of terrible things happening in Prythian. The curse has ended, and Amarantha's revenge has begun. The spring court has fallen. Tamlin and his people are being tortured under the mountain. And Feyre knows. She loves him. She's always loved him. And she never told him. She never said the words that could have saved them all. This is the moment that defines who Feyre truly is. She could stay safe, stay human, live out her quiet life and try to forget. But Feyre has never been someone who takes the safe path. She's the girl who went into frozen woods to hunt dangerous prey. She's the girl who killed a fairy to save her family. She's the girl who chose life over death when faced with a beast. And now, she chooses love over safety. She tells her family, I'm going back. I'm going to save him. They think she's insane. You'll die. You're just a human. What can you do against Amarantha? You barely survived there before. But Feyre doesn't care. She arms herself with whatever weapons she can find. Her father's old ashwood dagger, which, in fairy lore, is deadly to magical creatures, her bow and arrows, her courage, and her love. And she does the impossible. She goes to the wall. She finds a way through. She travels through dangerous fairy lands, asking for directions, facing threats, refusing to give up. She makes her way to under the mountain, that fortress of nightmares where Amarantha rules. She walks straight into the darkness, into certain danger, alone. Why? Because that's what you do for the people you love. You don't count the cost. You don't calculate the odds. You just go. And when the guards try to stop her at the entrance to Amarantha's court, Feyre says the words that will change everything. I've come for Tamlin. I've come to break the curse. In Section 5, we'll witness Feyre's impossible trials, her courage against unbeatable odds, and the shocking twists that await under the mountain. When Feyre enters under the mountain, she steps into a living nightmare. Picture this, a massive, cavernous throne room carved deep beneath a mountain. No sunlight, only the dim glow of torches and magical flames. The air is thick, suffocating, filled with the stench of fear and decay. Hundreds of fairies crowded together, the most powerful beings in Prythian, all enslaved. And sitting on a throne of bones, Amarantha. She's beautiful in the most terrifying way. Red hair like blood, pale skin like death, eyes that hold centuries of cruelty, a smile that promises pain. When Feyre walks in, the entire court goes silent. A human girl, walking willingly into Amarantha's domain. It's unheard of. And then Feyre sees Tamlin and her heart breaks. He's chained, powerless, forced to kneel at Amarantha's feet like a pet. His mask is gone, but his eyes are empty, defeated. He looks at Feyre with horror and despair. She came for him, but now she's trapped too. Amarantha is delighted. Finally, after 49 years, here's the human who loves the beast. The one who could have broken the curse but arrived too late. and Amarantha sees an opportunity for entertainment. She tells Feyre, "You want to save him? Prove your love. Complete 3 trials, 1 each month. Survive, and you can both go free. Fail, and you die screaming." It's a trap, obviously. The trials will be designed to kill her, but Feyre has no choice. She came here to save Tamlin, and she's not backing down now. She accepts. Let's talk about these trials because they're absolutely brutal. First trial. The worm Feyre is thrown into a massive underground arena. The crowd of enslaved fairies watches from above, forced to witness this human's likely death. And then it appears, the worm, a monstrous creature, giant, blind, with rows of razor-sharp teeth. It hunts by sound and vibration. Its skin is nearly impenetrable. It's killed hundreds before Feyre the challenge. Kill it, with barely any weapons. Alone, Feyre has only a dagger, her bow with limited arrows, her wits. She quickly realizes she can't fight it head-on, so she uses intelligence. She notices the worm is blind. It hunts by sound. She uses echoes and vibrations to confuse it. She lures it toward weak points in the arena. She strikes at its vulnerable underbelly when it rears up, but it's not enough. The creature is too strong to fast. Just when she's about to die, she remembers something from her hunting days. Aim for the soft spot behind the head. Wait for the perfect moment. 1 shot must count. With her last arrow, she makes the impossible shot. The worm falls. She survives, but she's broken bones, fractured, bleeding, barely alive. Second trial. The Middengard worm's poison. A month passes. Feyre heals in the darkness, waiting. The second trial is different. It's not about strength but endurance. She's placed in a chamber with a riddle carved on the wall. But here's the twist. The chamber is filling with poison, the same poison from the Middengard worm. She has to read the riddle, but she can't read. She's illiterate. Something we haven't mentioned yet, but is crucial. Solve it before the poison kills her. Do this while her lungs burn and her vision blurs. The riddle involves solving a puzzle, moving levers in the right order to open the door. Feyre is panicking. She can't read the instructions. The symbols mean nothing to her. The poison is filling her lungs. She's coughing blood, dying. And that's when Tamlin, watching helplessly, does something forbidden. He uses what little power he has left to send her a message, a feeling, an instinct, a hint. And Feyre, drawing on every bit of intelligence and instinct she has, figures it out. She pulls the levers in the correct sequence. The door opens. She collapses, half dead from poison. She survives again, but she knows the third trial will be the worst. Third trial. We'll come back to this because first, we need to talk about someone crucial. Before the third trial, something important happens. Let me introduce you to the most controversial character in this entire series, Rhysand, the High Lord of the Night Court. When he first appears in Amarantha's throne room, Feyre sees devastatingly beautiful dark hair, violet eyes, like a fallen angel radiating power. Even while enslaved, a cruel smile and mocking tone. Everything about him screams danger. He's known as the most dangerous High Lord. His court is shrouded in darkness, and mystery rumors say he's ruthless, sadistic, enjoys torture. Even other fairies fear him. He's Amarantha's favorite, her most trusted enforcer, and he takes a disturbing interest in Feyre. Between trials, he visits her cell. He heals her wounds, but in a way that feels invasive. He makes a bargain with her. 1 week per month, every month, she must spend in his court. In exchange, he'll help her survive Amarantha. He paints a bargain tat on her arm, a beautiful, swirling design that marks their deal. Why does he do this? At this point in the story, it seems like he's playing with her like a cat with a mouse, setting up his own entertainment, taking advantage of her desperate situation. Feyre hates him. She sees him as another monster. But there's something in his eyes, something that doesn't quite match his cruel words. He helps her in ways that don't make sense. During the second trial, he sends her hints telepathically. He ensures she's fed and her wounds are treated. He mocks her publicly, but whispers encouragement privately. He seems to be playing a double game, but Feyre can't figure out why. Is he genuinely evil? Or is he playing a role for Amarantha? We don't know yet, and neither does Feyre, but his presence changes everything. Through all of this, what stands out most is Feyre's incredible strength, physical courage. She faces creatures designed to kill her. She endures torture, poison, near-death experiences. She gets back up every single time. Mental strength. She solves puzzles while dying. She adapts her hunting skills to magical challenges. She learns the politics of this deadly court. Emotional resilience. She watches Tamlin suffer and can't help him. She endures Amarantha's mockery and cruelty. She maintains hope when everyone else has given up. But here's what's most impressive. She's just a human. No magic, no immortality, no special powers. She's a 19-year-old girl who learned to hunt to feed her family. And she's standing against beings who've lived for centuries, who have magic that could destroy her. With a thought, every other human would have died immediately. But Feyre, she fights, she survives, she refuses to break. She becomes a symbol of hope to the enslaved fairies. They start to believe again. They whisper her name. They see that even powerless, you can fight back. Now comes the final trial, and it's the cruelest one yet. Amarantha presents Feyre with a riddle. There are those who seek me a lifetime but never we meet, and those I kiss but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large, my ministrations are softly stepped, but giants have been felled by my smallest of caresses. What am I? This is it. Answer correctly, and everyone goes free. Answer wrong, and Feyre dies. The entire court holds its breath. Tamlin is screaming silently, unable to help. Feyre thinks, something that people seek but don't find? Something that can be trampled? Something that favors the brave? Something soft but powerful? She goes through possibilities. Death? No, that doesn't fit. Time? Close, but not quite. Magic? Doesn't match all the clues. And then, looking at Tamlin, remembering their journey, she understands. The answer is love. Love, she says clearly. The answer is love. For a moment, there's absolute silence. She's right. The curse should break. They should be free. But Amarantha smiles a terrible, cruel smile. Correct, but I lied. There's one more task. Here's the final, impossible challenge. Amarantha presents Feyre with 3 innocent fairies, young, terrified, chained on the floor. And she hands Feyre a knife. Kill them. Kill 3 innocents. Prove you're willing to do what it takes. Then you can all go free. It's the ultimate test. Prove that love isn't pure. Prove that Feyre is no better than the monsters. Break her spirit completely. Feyre is frozen. She can't. These are innocent people. She's not a murderer. But if she doesn't do it, Tamlin will die. The Spring Court will suffer forever. All those enslaved will never be free. What does she choose? In this impossible moment, Feyre makes her decision. She refuses. She drops the knife. She says, "No, I won't. Kill me if you want, but I won't become a monster to defeat you." This is true heroism. Not winning through cruelty, not compromising your soul, but standing by your values even when it costs you everything. Amarantha screams with rage and raises her hand to kill Feyre on the spot. But then something incredible happens. The curse breaks. Not because Feyre said love, but because she demonstrated it, willing to die rather than betray her principles, even to save the one she loves. True love isn't just words, it's sacrifice. And in that moment of ultimate self-sacrifice, the magic recognizes what Tamlin needed all along. Not someone who would say they love him, but someone who would embody love's truest form, selfless, courageous, pure. But the story doesn't end here, because Amarantha isn't done yet. And what happens next will change Feyre forever. Let's move to section 6 for the stunning conclusion. The curse breaks, the masks shatter, Tamlin's full power returns, and Amarantha loses her mind with rage. In that moment of chaos, as magic explodes through the mountain, Amarantha attacks Feyre, not with magic, with pure, physical brutality. She snaps Feyre's neck. Just like that, Feyre collapses to the ground, dead. The girl who survived 3 impossible trials, who faced down monsters, who refused to compromise her soul, dies at the finish line. Tamlin screams a sound of pure anguish that shakes the mountain. He finally has his full power back, and the first thing he sees is Feyre's lifeless body. What happens next is brutal and beautiful. Tamlin destroys Amarantha. 49 years of rage, pain, and helplessness explode out of him. He tears her apart with his bare hands and magic. The tyrant who enslaved all of Prythian dies screaming, but it doesn't matter. Feyre is gone. The other High Lords emerge from the crowd, all 7 of them. Their powers finally returned. The High Lord of Summer, the High Lord of Autumn, the High Lord of Winter, the High Lord of Dawn, the High Lord of Day, the High Lord of Night, Rhysand and Tamlin of Spring. They stand around Feyre's body, and Tamlin begs them, "Please, save her. I'll give anything, everything." Here's what happens. Each High Lord has a small spark of magic, a piece of their own immortal essence. One by one, Each High Lord steps forward and gives Feyre a piece of their power. One gives her immortality. One gives her enhanced strength. One gives her heightened senses. One gives her ability to heal quickly. One gives her resistance to magic. Each gift transforms her, rebuilds her, remakes her. It's unprecedented. It's never been done before. But they do it because she saved them all. She showed courage no immortal being could match. She deserves to live. And then, miraculously, Feyre gasps. Her eyes open, her heart beats, but she's no longer human. She's been reborn as High Fae immortal, powerful, transformed. She sits up, and everything is different. Colors are more vivid than she ever imagined. Sounds are crystal clear. She can feel magic thrumming through her veins. She's stronger, faster, more alive than ever. She died human. She awakens as something more. Let's talk about what this transformation means. Physically, Feyre has changed. Her features are sharper, more ethereal, heartbreakingly beautiful. Her senses are overwhelming. She can hear heartbeats, smell emotions, see in perfect darkness. She has strength that would have seemed impossible days ago. She's immortal now. She'll live for thousands of years. She carries pieces of all 7 High Lords' power within her, but emotionally, she's struggling. She looks in the mirror and barely recognizes herself. She's no longer the human huntress from that small village. She can never go back to her old life, never truly be with her human family again. She'll watch them age and die while she stays young. She gave up her humanity to save Tamlin. Was it worth it? She looks at Tamlin alive, free, looking at her with such love and relief, and she thinks, yes, it was worth it. But there's also grief. Grief for the human girl she was, grief for the simple life she'll never have, grief for the mortality she lost. This is the cost of heroism. You don't get to stay the same person. You don't get to go back. But you do get to move forward into something new. With Amarantha dead and the curse broken, everything changes in Prythian. The spring court is free. The masks are gone forever. Tamlin's people can finally breathe without fear. The beautiful land is truly theirs again. Joy returns after 49 years of darkness. All 7 courts are liberated. The High Lords return to their lands. Political prisoners are released. Ancient grudges can finally be addressed. Prythian can begin to heal under the mountain empties. The enslaved fairies scatter to their homes. The fortress of nightmares is abandoned. It becomes a symbol of a dark time that's finally over. The world Feyre saved begins to rebuild, recover, and remember what freedom feels like. So what happens with Tamlin and Feyre? They return to the spring court together, but everything feels different now. Their relationship has transformed. They love each other, that's undeniable. She literally died and was reborn for him. But they're both dealing with trauma. Tamlin is overprotective, almost suffocatingly so. He's terrified of losing Feyre again. He wants to keep her safe, sheltered, protected. His love sometimes feels like a cage. And Feyre is struggling with her new immortal body and powers. PTSD from the trials and her death, feeling lost between her human past and Fae future, needing space to figure out who she is now. They're planning their future. Talk of marriage and building a life together. Feyre as the Lady of Spring Court, a happily ever after ending. It seems perfect. It seems like everything they fought for. But there are cracks forming, small ones, barely visible. But they're there. Tamlin's protectiveness feels controlling. Sometimes Feyre feels restless, confined. She's changed in ways Tamlin doesn't fully understand. The trauma hasn't been dealt with, just buried. At the end of this book, they're together, in love, and free. But readers who continue the series know, this isn't quite the ending it seems. Remember that bargain Feyre made with Rhysand? The tattoo on her arm? The deal that she must spend 1 week per month in the Night Court? That's still in effect. Before Rhysand leaves under the mountain, he reminds her, 1 week per month. Feyre, darling, I'll come to collect. His violet eyes hold secrets. His smile is knowing, and Feyre realizes she's bound to the most dangerous High Lord in Prythian. But here's what's fascinating. Rhysand was one of the 7 who gave his power to bring Feyre back to life. He could have refused. He could have let her stay dead. But he didn't. Why? What does he want with Feyre? Why did he help her during the trials? Why did he save her life? Is he the villain everyone thinks he is? Or is there more to his story? These questions hang in the air, unanswered. The book ends with so many mysteries about Feyre's powers. She has pieces of all 7 High Lords inside her. What does that mean? What can she do now? Is she more powerful than anyone realizes? About Prythian's future. Amarantha is dead, but what caused her to rise in the first place? Are there other threats waiting? How will the courts rebuild? What about that ancient war and the unresolved tensions? About Rhysand? What's his true nature? Why is he so interested in Feyre? What happens when he collects on their bargain? Is the Night Court as dark as everyone believes? About Tamlin and Feyre? Can their relationship survive her transformation? Will Tamlin's protectiveness push her away? Is this really her happily ever after? Or is this just the beginning of a bigger story? The book ends with hope and new beginnings, but also with the sense that this story is far from over. Feyre has been transformed from a human huntress into a High Fae with unprecedented power. She's gone from fighting to survive day to day to being part of the politics and magic of Prythian. She's fallen in love, died, and been reborn. But who is Feyre Archeron now? That's the question that will drive the rest of this series. And trust me, if you think this book was intense, the sequels take everything to a whole new level. The story of A Court of Thorns and Roses is really just the prologue to something much bigger, much more complex, and much more emotionally devastating. Now let's move to our conclusion, where we'll break down the key takeaways, life lessons, and what makes this book so special. Alright, let's break down the powerful lessons A Court of Thorns and Roses teaches us. 1. True love requires sacrifice and selflessness. Feyre didn't just say she loved Tamlin, she was willing to die for him. Real love means putting someone else's well-being above your own. 2. Survival isn't just physical, it's emotional and mental. Feyre survived poverty, trials, and death itself because she never gave up hope. Resilience is built in the mind first. 3. First impressions can be deceiving. The beast turned out to be kind. The beautiful court hid darkness. The dangerous Rhysand saved her life. Look deeper than the surface. 4. Your circumstances don't define your worth. Feyre went from a poor, illiterate human to someone who saved an entire magical realm. Where you start doesn't determine where you finish. 5. Sometimes growth requires leaving your comfort zone. Feyre had to leave her human life, her family, everything familiar, and that's when she truly became who she was meant to be. 6. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. Feyre was terrified during every trial, but she moved forward anyway. That's real bravery. 7. You can't control others, only your own choices. Feyre couldn't make her sisters help the family. She couldn't make Tamlin tell her the truth, but she controlled her own actions and integrity. 8. Transformation often comes through pain. Feyre literally had to die to become something greater. Personal growth isn't comfortable, it's challenging and sometimes painful. 9. True strength is staying true to your values. When asked to kill innocents, Feyre refused even knowing it might cost her everything. Integrity matters more than winning. 10. Love and freedom must coexist. Tamlin's lesson. He loved Feyre enough to let her go. Real love doesn't imprison, it gives freedom to choose. Now, how can you apply these lessons to your real life? 1. Face your fears head on. Like Feyre entering under the mountain, sometimes you have to walk toward what scares you most. That job interview, that difficult conversation, that dream you're afraid to pursue, do it afraid. 2. Don't wait for perfect conditions to take action. Feyre didn't have magic powers or special training. She had courage and determination. Stop waiting until you're ready, start now with what you have. 3. Choose who you become. Feyre refused to become a monster even to save herself. Your circumstances might be difficult, but you choose your character. Don't compromise your values for short-term gains. 4. Invest in relationships that matter. Feyre fought for Tamlin and Rhysand because they became her chosen family. Nurture the relationships that truly matter, not just the convenient ones. 5. Embrace transformation. Change is scary. Feyre lost her humanity, but gained something greater. When life forces you to evolve, don't resist, transform. 6. Use your unique strengths. Feyre couldn't out-magic the fairies, so she used her hunting skills, intelligence, and human resilience. Your background and experiences are your superpower, use them. 7. Know when to ask for help. Feyre accepted help from Rhysand during the trials. Pride can kill you. Be humble enough to accept support when you need it. This book is perfect for when you are facing impossible odds. Remember Feyre's trials and know that courage comes in the moment you need it. When you're questioning a relationship, examine whether it's built on real love, freedom, respect, sacrifice, or just attraction. When you feel powerless, Feyre had no magic, but changed everything. You have more power than you think. When you need escapism, lose yourself in a beautifully crafted fantasy world and return refreshed. If you enjoyed A Court of Thorns and Roses, check out these amazing reads. 1. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, same author, equally addictive. Follows an assassin competing for her freedom. Epic fantasy with romance and incredible world building. 2. Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. A chosen one story with Russian-inspired fantasy, forbidden romance, and the Darkling, one of the most complex villains in YA fantasy. 3. From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, steamy fantasy romance with a maiden, her guard, and secrets that will blow your mind. Similar vibes to ACOTAR. 4. Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Dark Fae politics, enemies to lovers romance, an immortal girl navigating a deadly fairy court. Brilliantly twisted. 5. Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. Witches, demons, and a murder mystery wrapped in Italian folklore. Slow burn romance with serious tension. 6. Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. Witch and witch hunter forced into marriage. Enemies to lovers, perfection with humor and heart. 7. The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. Political fantasy romance with a warrior princess, an enemy king, and a bridge that changes everything. Action-packed and emotional. Here's what I want you to take away from Feyre's story. You are capable of more than you know. Feyre didn't know she could survive trials designed to kill her. She didn't know she'd become High Fae. She didn't know she'd save an entire realm. She just kept moving forward, one brave step at a time. That's all any of us can do. Whatever you're facing right now, whether it's a career challenge, a relationship struggle, a personal transformation, or just the daily grind of survival, you have Feyre's courage inside you. The girl who was just a human huntress became legend. What could you become if you stopped limiting yourself? Don't wait for magic. Don't wait for perfect circumstances. Be brave enough to step into your own story and see where it takes you. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into A Court of Thorns and Roses. If this breakdown helped you understand or appreciate the book more, smash that like button. It tells YouTube to recommend this to other book lovers. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm creating more fantasy book analyses, breakdowns, and literary deep dives you won't want to miss. Let's discuss in the comments. Question 1. Are you Team Tamlin or Team Rhysand? And if you've read the sequels, no spoilers for new readers. Question 2. Which trial would you have failed? The worm, the poison puzzle, or the moral choice? Question 3. What book should I analyze next? Drop your requests. Coming up next on the channel, we are diving into book titles, so subscribe so you don't miss it. Special shout out to this amazing community of readers who make these videos possible. Your comments, suggestions, and support mean everything. Now go forth, be brave like Feyre, and remember, to the people who look at the stars and wish, to the stars who listen, and the dreams that are answered, until next time, keep reading, keep dreaming, and keep being extraordinary.